today what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down this, I guess, novel concept, because as we get into it, you're going to realize that a professional salesperson, a pro, they're using exactly what I'm going to be walking you through today. And the amateurs, the new people who just haven't been trained the right way, they're going to be talking way too much. And, there's a saying in sales, you talk yourself out of the sale. That is so true. The more a salesperson talks, the less in control of the conversation they are, the less likely they are to actually close the sale. So let me break down exactly what I mean, what this looks like in all the different stages of the conversation. We're going to have a number of different stages or steps in that conversation. Because, when we're talking with a brand new customer, we don't know anything about them. About a couple months ago, I came up with an interesting example based on my own experience. And I think this fits right now. I was looking for a gym close by to the office here so I could pop in during the day and just power through a workout, then come back to the office. So I walked into this one establishment. I was greeted by the front desk staff. They grabbed the salesperson. And right off the bat, all he did was took me on a tour of the gym, talked about all the different stations and why they're amazing, and then walked back and then pitched me the price and then expected me to buy. That is what most people do in, I would say, the majority of sales conversations when they haven't been trained the right way. And let me just explain why that doesn't work. Well, number one, he had absolutely no idea what my goals were. He had no idea why I was looking for a new gym. He had no idea what I liked or didn't like about previous gyms or previous workout routines. He had no idea what I was after, what was important to me, what wasn't important to me. He was basically going in cold. Now, there was no foundation there. Put yourself in the shoes of the customer or the prospect. I'm going around this gym. I have an idea on what I'm looking for. I know what's important to me, but the whole pitch was not focused on what I wanted. It was about what that guy, the salesperson, what he wanted to talk about, what he assumed that I was interested in. So whenever we start a sales conversation, we have to start by learning about the prospect. Now, you've probably seen a dartboard before, right? So you've got all the different rings in the dartboard, and then in the middle, you've got the bullseye. If we just deliver a standard pitch, just a standard pitch, boilerplate, it's been written out for you, we're probably going to get, as long as it's a good pitch, we're probably going to get 80% of the way there. So it's going to get stuck right here. But if we actually learn about the prospect first, understand what they're looking for, and then pitch using their own words and focusing on what they want, that's when we hit bullseyes. And so many amateur salespeople, they can't hit bullseyes. Now, most of the time, if you get a really hot prospect, you can be 80% of the way there and they're going to buy because their pain point's strong enough. They already know about the solution. But it's the people who are not quite sold. Maybe they're a 6 out of 10. Maybe they're a 7 out of 10. Maybe they're a 5 out of 10. By understanding the prospect, you have a much higher chance of closing those people. If somebody's 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, well, you're going to make the sale no matter what. But it's not skill. That's just the customer really wants what you have. They've been pre-sold. And they have a significant amount of pain. But a true salesperson is able to take somebody who's 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10, understand what they're doing, position the product the right way, frame the solution, and then make the sale. That's what we're going to be covering. Okay, so let me break this down in the sales conversation. Very first thing we have to do. Now, I'm going to assume that we are, let's just use the gym membership example, right? Because I think a lot of people can relate to this. New Year's is coming up and everybody's going to be buying gym memberships before they go out the window 3 months later. All right, so somebody walks into the gym. What are we going to do first? Well, first of all, we have what's called the greeting. We're going to say, hey, so-and-so, welcome to, Planet Gym. My name's John, nice to meet you. What's your name? Handshake, friendly smile. Now, if you're selling over Zoom or video calls, that's what we do because we have clients all over the place. You're going to greet them on Zoom. And what you're going to do is you're going to frame the conversation. Okay. So greeting, hey, what brings you in, blah, 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 do all that type of stuff. Now you're going to frame it. And the way you want to frame it is, hey, listen, I want to learn more about what you're already up to with fitness, your goals, what's not working right, why you're even looking for a new gym. And, once we can figure that out, I'll be able to, offer you a customized solution that's really going to help you achieve your goals. Does that sound fair? Yeah. Okay, great. Awesome. Now you're going to so we move from greeting to frame. Now, this is the top part of the call. Now, we do a bunch of outbound as well in different parts of what we do. So this part, if you're smiling and dialing and doing a lot of outbound, this is going to be done on the phone. Hey, John, it's Seth calling from XYZ company. How's it going today? Hey, great. Now, hey, John, now if you recall, you opted in to learn more about this product. Does that ring a bell? Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, great. Well, what I found works best for these calls, blah, blah, blah. You do the frame and then you get into the main part of the call. So this happens that you can use this if you're walking in, if you have a prospect walking in from the street, or you can use this if you're smiling and dialing. If you have an inbound call, it doesn't matter. We still have the greeting and then we frame the call because the frame is important because if you don't frame the call, the prospect isn't preconditioned to understand what's coming up. If we're just having a nice conversation, the prospect in their mind could be like, oh, this is a really nice guy. But if you frame it properly, if you frame this conversation the right way, hey, I want to understand what you're doing now, your goals, what's not working right. Okay, great. Now you're basically telling the prospect, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, so it's not odd or unusual. And then, hey, I'm going to based on that, I can offer you a customized solution that's really going to help you out. Okay, great. So the prospect knows I'm going to get asked a whole bunch of questions. Then he's going to use that to offer a custom solution. Okay. So we've done a little bit of talking in the front here, right? Because we're greeting them and then we're framing the conversation. Now we're going to move into the most important part of the call, which is discovery. So with discovery, this is where we have to shut up. We ask one question and then we want the prospect to talk because we're just taking notes. We're understanding. So the best example for this is pretend you're a doctor. A prospect, somebody who's sick comes into the doctor's office. A doctor's not going to prescribe medication or put a cast on their arm until they ask a bunch of questions. Do some investigation. Oh, doctor, my head hurts. Oh, okay. Well, when did it start hurting? On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is the pain? Where is the pain in your head? Has this happened to you before? Are you able to sleep? They're going to ask you a bunch of stuff. Now, once they do that, they're going to be able to offer you a solution. Hey, take this medicine. Or, hey, let's do some x-rays. Let's do some ultrasounds. Oh, based on these results, this is what we're going to do to solve it. And you have to be in a cast for the next 5 weeks. We accept the solution because the doctor's done the homework and we trust that he's an expert. The same thing applies to selling. If we ask relevant questions, our status in the conversation, we prove our expertise because we're asking the right question. If you walked into the doctor's office and the doctor starts asking you about the last time you changed your oil, you're going to be like, oh, who is this guy? But the doctor's going to be, if the doctor asks you the questions you would expect to be asked about your problem, well, you just end up trusting the guy even more. So with discovery, we want to find out what the big problem is they're looking to solve. So why are we talking right now? What's not going right? Okay, so we're going to solve the problem first. What's wrong? What isn't working? Why are we talking? Why are you looking for help? What's the problem? After we figure out the problem, we want to dig deeper. Okay, so this is where a lot of amateurs go wrong. They ask the prospect, so Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, what's your big problem right now? What's the biggest challenge that you're facing? And the prospect says, oh, well, it's whatever it is. It's financing, whatever the industry you're in. And then the person goes, oh, awesome. Well, we can help you with this. And then they start pitching. That's not what you want to do. You actually want to go 3 to 5 layers deeper. Think of the movie Shrek with all the onions have layers because, Shrek is complicated. The same thing with your prospects, because generally what happens is the initial answer they give you isn't the real answer. It's what they think, but that's not really the true problem. So I'll give you an example. So one of our services is we consult and coach events and conferences and workshops and turn them into $1 million events. That's what we do. So when we're doing our discovery conversations, we want to find out what's not working in their event. Why are they looking for help? So somebody may say, oh, well, what's your problem? Sponsorship. So they're having trouble getting sponsors for their event. If we just left it there, I don't really understand what's going on. They think it's sponsorship. I kind of know the theme of the problem. I don't understand what the problem actually is. So we have to ask more questions. Oh, well, what do you mean? What do you mean when you say sponsorship? Or tell me more about that. Oh, okay. Well, can you explain that a little bit more? What specifically about sponsorship? You want to go so much deeper because that's when you can identify one single piece. It could be that they don't have an outbound system to generate leads. Maybe they are having conversations, but they're not closing them. Maybe they don't know how to price their sponsorship. There's so many different things that could be under that theme of sponsorship. But if all we do is talk and start pitching as soon as they give us that answer, we're not going to be able to serve that customer. And we could end up like that guy who was pitching me the gym membership. We could end up talking about something that's not even relevant because we didn't take the time to ask. And then we have to figure out the cost of not fixing that problem. What happens if we don't solve this problem? So going back to the gym example, what happens if you can't find a gym? What happens if you end up in a gym that you hate? What happens if, you stay at your current gym where, you're waiting in line for 30 minutes just for a squat rack? We have to ask those questions so we can understand what's at stake. Because in a sales conversation or in the sales process, we have to understand what are the motivators there. We have carrot and we have stick. The stick is the pain and people run away from that pain. They want to escape the stick. But then on the other side, we have the carrot, the food that's dangling in front of the rabbit that they're going to run towards. With the cost, that's the pain, that's the stick. What is the cost of them not fixing this problem? If the answer is, oh, well, I'm pretty happy with my current gym. I don't really see a reason to move. I'm just kind of snooping around and just want to see what you guys are doing because I like your sign. Well, at least you figured that out early in the conversation and you can appropriately dedicate the time and effort to that prospect. But if the person's saying, hey, listen, I've got, I'm getting married in 5 months. and I'm unhappy with my weight, but my current gym, it's packed. I can't get the exercises in. I only have 60 minutes to do my workout. I spend 40 or 50% of my workout just waiting for equipment, and I'm super stressed because I want to look good for my pictures. That's a great cost. So if you compare the two prospects, which one is going to take action and actually invest in your product or service? In this case, a gym membership. Obviously, the person who has the timeline and the goal and they're motivated. That's what we're looking for. So we have the problem, we have the cost. Now we want to figure out what type of solutions are they looking for? You want to find out, have you looked at other gyms? You want to find out who else they're talking to. Have you talked with other gyms? Have you considered any other fitness activities? Maybe they're looking for a home fitness trainer to come visit them in their house. Well, in that case, you want to identify, what it is that they're considering. Maybe they're looking at 5 different gyms. Well, that's good to know if you're looking to pitch. How many gyms have you looked at so far? Or do you have any other appointments set up today? You want to find out. If you're selling driveway paving, you want to ask, well, hey, have you received any other quotes? Oh, awesome. Well, what companies? Oh, well, because you want to know what you're up against with the prospect. So you can tailor your pitch and your presentation to exactly what's going to give the prospect the most information and education that they need to make the right choice for them. Then we want to find out about their goals. Now, in this part right here in discovery, the prospect should be doing 80%, if not more, of the talking. You, as a salesperson, should be doing 20% or less of the talking. And this is what I find a lot with new salespeople, with people just getting into it or amateurs who haven't been trained properly. In discovery, they start trying to pitch. So the prospect gives an answer, and instead of asking a follow-up deep dive question, what they end up doing is be like, oh yeah, we can definitely help you. We got this and this and this and this. A professional salesperson, when you're in discovery, you stay in discovery. You are only asking questions. As much as you would love to jump in and pitch and explain what's going on, a professional will fight that urge and stay in discovery until they're done. As what you want is it's kind of like, one of those streams where you have the dam, maybe it's some sand in a sandbar, and then the water starts flowing and then it goes bigger and bigger and bigger. That's what you want with information coming from the prospect. At the top of discovery, you ask one single question. By the end of discovery, it should just be this massive river of information coming from the prospect. You want them talking, maximum 20% of the talking, and those should all be open-ended questions. You don't want to ask yes or no questions. You want to say things like, oh, well, what happened next? What do you mean by tell me more? That's what we need in discovery. After we finish discovery, we want to transition. When we transition, this is basically moving from discovery, where we're doing most of the listening, and then transition to where now the prospect's listening and we're doing more talking. Because if we just go from discovery into the pitch, it's kind of awkward. It's just that icky feeling where, oh, I'm just asking you a bunch of questions and now I'm trying to jam it down your throat. So what you want to do in transition is you want to say, hey, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, remember how you told me this? Well, this product, this service, this company is the perfect fit for you. Remember how you said this? Well, this is boom, reason 1, 2, 3, short and sweet. So what we do in our transition, so let's say we're filling up our conference and selling conference tickets. What we say is, hey, John, based on everything you just told me, this conference is definitely a perfect fit for you. You mentioned that you're looking to learn whatever it is, this and this and this. Well, that's exactly what we'll be covering at the conference. So let me just give you a brief background on what's coming up. Does that sound good? Perfect. So what we're doing there is we're giving them context as to why we're going to propose that solution. And then we're going to ask permission to sell. We always want the prospect to be in the driver's seat every time we start selling. So if we just move from discovery, and this is what a lot of amateurs do who talk too much. They go into discovery, they ask one question, then they start pitching. The prospect hasn't told them they're okay with that. The prospect should never be forced into a situation because that's yucky. That's yucky sales. What we need to do is we need the prospect to be on board with the entire process. So we ask. So before we go into discovery, we frame it and we say, hey, does that sound good to you? Yeah, perfect. Let's go. Awesome. After discovery, we transition. Hey, let me just give you a brief background on what's coming up. Does that sound good? Prospect says, yeah, for sure. Fill me in. Perfect. They're a willing participant. Now we get into the pitch. Now in the pitch, this is where we're going to do a lot more talking. But the prospect still has to be engaged. So all the way up to the pitch, again, 20% of us talking, 80% or more of the prospect talking, minimum and maximum. And every single time, if we do a call review, if somebody's having trouble selling, it's because we did too much talking here. I would much rather see discovery take, 3/4, 75% of the sales call, and we do a quick pitch, but that pitch lands. But the problem is we end up in these calls where, the salesperson is pitching for 3/4 of the call, and we only do a quarter discovery. That's not enough. It should be flipped the other way. The prospect should be doing most of the talking in the conversation. Now in the pitch, what we're going to do is we're going to use what I call a pitch sandwich. So a pitch sandwich looks like this. Number one, we say, remember remember how you said, so ... Hey, John, remember how you just told me that you're having trouble with like waiting in line for about half your workout and it's like pretty frustrating for you because you're just standing there, right? We're going to use what we learned in discovery and start framing our pitch this way. Now we're going to present the unique mechanism. So this is what you have, what your service offers that's unique from everybody else. So in a gym example, I don't know what they would do, but it would be like, hey, John, well, that's actually why we have our lifter zone where we guarantee that we have a squat rack available for anybody who uses it in 5 minutes or less, right? Whatever that unique mechanism is. Now you're going to explain how that helps. So it would be like, I'm just making this up. The way the zone helps is as soon as you walk in the gym, you scan your pass and you can actually press on the screen what equipment you are planning on using that day. And our AI mechanism will automatically ensure that one of the squat racks is open. And when that happens, your watch is going to flash and let you know it's available for you with 5 minutes or less. We guarantee it, right? You're going to explain how that mechanism will help them. Then last but not least, you're going to explain the benefit. So this is what this means for you. So John, what this means for you is instead of waiting for, half of your workout and just standing there collecting dust, you're going to be able to come in, get your workout and be a lot more efficient. But more importantly, you're going to be able to hit all the muscle groups that you want to hit and not have to substitute and have those substandard workouts because that's not what's going to get you absolutely chiseled for your honeymoon, right? Whatever it is, you're going to do the benefit. So that's what I call a pitch sandwich because I enjoy eating food. So the cool thing with the pitch sandwich is you're going to stack these sandwiches on top of each other. So you're going to do that with the first main point that you want to solve with what you discovered in discovery. But then after that, after you do the first pitch sandwich, you're going to say, hey, John, does that make sense? Or, John, can you see how this can help you get better workouts in? Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. Well, John, and then you go on to the next phase. So if your product has stages or your service has stages or a progression of progression, you're going to identify that. So, hey, John, once we get you on the right equipment in the right amount of time, remember how you said that you're kind of new to working out and you need some help? Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, for sure. Well, that's exactly why we have our trainer buddy system. I'm just making this up, right? So I introduced that USP, unique selling mechanism. So John, how this actually works for you is we actually pair you your first workout with one of our on-site trainers who's, they're not a pushy salesperson. We're not going to charge you anything extra, but they're just going to be able to stick around, give you some tips. They'll keep an eye on you. They're not going to be in your face, but if they see you doing something that's, probably not ideal for your workout, or if they see you doing an exercise and they have some suggestions for you, is it cool if they actually come over and help give you that advice? Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, well, because this is why, we have like a 90% success rate for everybody who comes in, 4 days or more at the gym, right? So I explain how. Now the benefit for you, John, is if you take advantage of our buddy system and you come in for at least 4 days a week, we have a 90% chance of getting you ripped for your honeymoon. So what this means is, instead of showing up to a gym and just, hoping it works out, you just have to follow our process. And we know for sure, with absolute certainty, that you're going to be able to crush it, look killer in your tuxedo. And also when you're on the beach on your honeymoon, you're going to have, your new wife just salivating over your abs, whatever it is. And now you can stack 2 or 3 of these pitch sandwiches and that's your pitch. Now, the important part of this is everything relates back to something you learned in discovery. So we can compare the 2 example pitch sandwiches I just gave you versus what the pitch I got when I walked into that one gym. Night and day difference. Here, we talked a whole lot less. We kept our mouth shut, ears open. We delivered very succinct, targeted pitches that solved specific issues and gave direct benefits for exactly what the prospect wants. That's how a professional sells. We set ourselves up for success in discovery and listening and not jumping the gun and starting the pitch. This is how you sell. And there's so many people selling and not getting results because they don't understand this process. All right. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you keep your ears open, your mouth closed for most of the conversation, because 75% of that call, 80% of that call should be you listening. And then you just deliver your targeted pitch, throw some bullseyes, and then nail the sale. All right, perfect. So I will see you next Tuesday for the bullpen. I hope this was helpful. And put this into action right away and let me know how you make out. All right, see you then.